has joined us. First up, Marcus, the Swiss referendum on immigration is creating economic and political waves.
Yes, indeed. Following the vote to restrict EU immigration, Swiss companies say that the level of uncertainty for them has just gone up. It comes as EU politicians are warning that Switzerland is putting its privileged access to the EU in danger, as you were just covering there. Now, despite not being an EU member, Switzerland has largely the same access to the single market as EU countries through a special deal. Trade between the EU and Switzerland topped 380 billion euros back in 2012, and the EU stands for more than 50% of Swiss exports and more than 70% of Swiss imports. Olivia Salazar-Winspear has more now on how the Swiss vote is being received on the Franco-Swiss border.
These traffic jams could be a thing of the past if new laws are put in place in Switzerland after Sunday's referendum. Since 2002, an agreement with the European Commission has allowed people to move freely across the country's borders. But now the Swiss have voted to limit the flux of migrant workers. At the moment, more than 150,000 French nationals cross into Switzerland daily for work.
Well, the word eviction is perhaps a bit strong, but we do feel a little resentment, and that's a bit unsettling.
In some of Geneva's shops, up to 50% of the personnel are French, meaning that if the law does change, department stores like these will have to prioritise local people when hiring staff. Those in the retail sector worry that will be a challenge.
There won't be a retroactive effect for the current staff we have here in Switzerland. They shouldn't worry for their future. But when we start looking for new recruits, then it will be much more complicated.
Others say the negative impact will not just be a logistical headache. Curbing immigration could damage the country's economy.
The economy of Geneva, for example, is doing extremely well when compared to many other neighbouring economies. And this is in large part thanks to the free movement of persons, those frontier workers who are able to work over the border.
Italian and German nationals who work in Switzerland have also been worried by the news. The Italian-speaking canton of Ticino is a popular destination for northern Italian business owners and their employees. Despite this, Ticino was one of the regions that voted overwhelmingly to restrict immigration.
Look at the stock markets next, and stocks over in the United States, they ended the session above the flat line on Monday. There's already a lot of focus ahead of an appearance by Janet Yellen in the US Congress on Tuesday. The new Fed chair is expected to set out her predictions for the US economy, and it seems that investors are slightly upbeat ahead of that. In Europe at the close, it was a little bit more of a mixed picture, with the CAC 40 and the FTSE closing above the flat line, whereas the DAX was ever so slightly below it. The focus in Europe as well on Janet Yellen and any clues on what might happen to the US Federal Reserve's program to stimulate the US economy. Let's talk you through a few other stories that we're following for you. French cosmetics giant L'Oréal has posted record full-year earnings during 2013 and made just under 3 billion euros, 3% higher than during 2012. Looking ahead to this year, L'Oréal is also forecasting both higher sales as well as profits. Shares in the company gained during Monday's trading on speculation that it could buy back some of its stock from Nestlé. Britain and the Netherlands are claiming nearly $5 billion plus interest from Iceland. They want compensation from its deposit insurance fund after the collapse of the bank Landsbanki back in 2008. Accounts held by British and Dutch savers were also wiped out, and British and Dutch authorities stepped in to cover their losses. The claim is likely to spark controversy, though, as Icelandic voters have previously rejected the idea of paying interest. And British mobile network operator Vodafone has offered to buy Spain's biggest cable operator Ono. That's according to sources speaking to Reuters. The value of this deal could reportedly top 7 billion euros. Vodafone is sitting on a cash pile after selling its part of US operator Verizon Wireless. The European cable sector is in Vodafone's crosshairs. It bought Germany's biggest cable group Kabel Deutschland just last year. We're going to finish up with this. A fight may be brewing between coffee chain Starbucks and a much smaller rival in Los Angeles. Take a look at these pictures. This may look like a new Starbucks store, but take a closer look. This new cafe is called Dumb Starbucks. The people running it say that they want to mock its larger rival, which gives them the right to use the logo of the coffee chain, according to them. But Starbucks says it's looking into the opening of this store closely. It feels like there could be a lawsuit coming Dumb Starbucks ways, but, you know, who am I to tell? Back to you, Cyril.
All right, Marcus Carlson with the business news. Thanks a lot. Always with the interesting